Tomorrow morning, a piece of glass and metal next to your bed will emit a synthetic chime, deciding that your night is over and pulling you violently out of deep sleep. We immediately reach for these glowing screens to scroll through the news, assuming the text we consume represents the complete story of the human race. We are missing almost everything. For 99.9% of human history, there were no written records, there were no morning alarms, and absolutely no ticking clocks. The vast majority of human experience went completely undocumented. Without timepieces, our ancestors coordinated complex daily routines. Without international laws or formal declarations, they waged brutal territorial wars. The most accurate record of the human race survives inside us. It is a living biological archive actively running in your brain chemistry and your DNA. For most of our existence on this planet, time was an environmental trigger. It was dictated entirely by the shifting light of the sun. Your body evolved a specialized light detector to track this. Deep inside your brain sits a cluster of 20,000 cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It receives electrical signals from melanopsin cells in your eyes, which measure the brightness of the dawn sky straight through your closed eyelids. This chart illustrates the internal chemical shift that happens next. Over the course of 30 to 45 minutes, your brain halts the production of melatonin. It slowly raises your core body temperature and then releases a vital, activating surge of cortisol to pull you out of deep sleep. But look what happens to this process when a modern alarm sounds. The smooth curves hit a sudden vertical barrier. Because the sleep cycle is truncated, a massive amount of a sleep pressure chemical called adenosine is left trapped. This disruption is a violent neurological gear shift. Ripped from deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain is forced into high-frequency beta waves, flooding your entire system with panic-inducing adrenaline. That heavy, disorienting grogginess we call sleep inertia is the direct physiological result of forcing an ancient, chemically tuned machine to obey an artificial modern timeline. Biology tells an incomplete story on its own. Ancient humans woke up as an interdependent collective. Anthropologists observing the Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania identified a pattern called the sentinel hypothesis. Across an entire group, their sleep was deliberately staggered. There were only 18 minutes a night when everyone was asleep at the exact same time. Some naturally stayed awake tending fire, others woke up hours before dawn. We call these chronotypes today, early birds and night owls, but they are actually evolutionary survival traits designed to keep constant watch. Waking up was a shared environmental mechanism. You were gently pulled into consciousness by the stirring of the fire, the crunch of footsteps, and the safety of your tribe. When that perimeter failed, the reality was bleak. Prehistoric warfare lacked uniforms, formal declarations, or rules of engagement. It was biological competition over scarce resources. Archaeological evidence dispels the romantic myth of early human peace. Mass grave sites reveal systematic, recurring violence between neighboring groups, with up to 60% of recovered populations dying violent deaths. The skeletons of adult males bear the explicit marks of direct combat. Researchers find fractured skulls, defensive perifractures on forearm bones, and stone projectile points lodged deep inside vertebrae. These shattered bones document the destruction of the men. The quieter fate of the rest of the tribe reveals a much more disturbing historical reality. To understand what happened to the survivors, researchers turned to ancient DNA, analyzing genetic patterns across prehistoric Eurasia to track the aftermath of these conflicts. Following a defeat, the local male Y chromosome signatures often collapsed entirely within a few generations. Yet the mitochondrial DNA, passed down through maternal lines, persisted. This data visualization shows a massive cluster of female genetic lines merging into a single dominant male lineage. It illustrates a staggering 17-to-1 female-to-male ancestor ratio, proving that captive women of reproductive age were systematically absorbed into the victorious groups. Their physical lives continued, but their entire social world, their language, and their families were dismantled. The human genome itself acts as a permanent monument to the quiet survival of people forced to rebuild their lives within the very tribes that destroyed their homes. Despite our blackout curtains and artificial screens, this ancient biological programming remains completely intact inside us. In a 2013 study, researchers at the University of Colorado Boulder took a group of gadget-obsessed humans and sent them into the wilderness without smartphones or flashlights. Exposed to nothing but campfires and the open sky, their internal clocks underwent a massive correction. Within just 7 days, their biology perfectly synced to the solar day. Their bodies began producing melatonin right at sunset, and the morning cortisol cascade initiated flawlessly, and every participant started waking up completely alert, slightly before sunrise, without a single alarm. Our true history is absent from stone monuments. Instead, you are a living biological machine. Every single time you open your eyes, you are firing up hundreds of thousands of years of unrecorded human survival.